Inside Brazil's deadliest city, where fear walks the streets and survival becomes a daily mission. São Paulo, a sprawling giant of concrete and steel, the beating industrial heart of Brazil, home to more than 22 million people in its metropolitan region, and over 43 million when the surrounding suburbs are counted. It is a city of powerful contrasts. Glass towers scrape the clouds while just steps away, improvised shacks cling to muddy hillsides. Luxury apartment blocks guarded by cameras and tall iron gates stand opposite the largest slums in the country. Here, the extremes of wealth and poverty breathe the same polluted air. São Paulo is a symbol of opportunity, but it is also a battlefield, a place where crime, poverty, and survival are constantly intertwined. And within this complex maze of humanity, countless stories unfold. Stories of fear, faith, corruption, brutality, and hope. This documentary takes you deep inside them. The police interview, a snapshot of crime. The footage opens with a young man sitting on the ground, surrounded by officers. His hands tremble, though he tries to hide it. He has just attempted to steal a jewelry tray from a shop. No gun, no weapon, just desperation. One officer asks, "Why did you do it?" The young man replies with a mixture of shame and defiance. Necessity. He insists he has no gun, no knife, nothing but hunger and a moment of impulsiveness. The officers interrogate him about a tattoo on his arm, a clown, a symbol that in São Paulo's underworld often means police killer. He denies everything. "I'm not part of a faction. I do my own hustle, that's all." But in São Paulo, reality is rarely that simple. The shadow of the PCC, Brazil's most powerful criminal organization. Behind almost every crime, every alleyway, every negotiation, there's a whisper of the PCC. Primeiro Comando de Capital, the first command of the capital. It is not a gang. It is a parallel government with its own laws, hierarchy, taxes, punishments, and territories. A former intelligence officer explains how they mapped the PCC. They began with Marcola, the organization's supreme leader, and traced downward to lieutenants who controlled every sector. Information sector, spies, communication networks. Drug sales sector, purchasing, distribution, progress routes. Financial sector, collection of mandatory payments from each criminal. Logistics sector, weapons, movement, protection. Every neighborhood under PCC domain had a commander. Every member had obligations. Every mistake had consequences. Inside the system, loyalty means safety. Outside it, survival becomes a daily gamble. A drug deal that never happens. In one intercepted phone call, a street dealer reaches out to his superior. He has 2,000 kilos of drugs ready for sale, but the quality is low. The superior instantly refuses. Bad quality brings bad problems. Don't touch it. The criminal economy functions with surprising discipline. Even illegal business follows strict rules. Quality control, negotiation, hierarchy. This is not chaos. This is structure. A prison raid, power behind bars. Inside Brazil's overcrowded prisons, the PCC controls entire pavilions. A unit of correctional officers prepares for a raid. Their objective: search for hidden phones, the lifeline of criminal communications. They move in shouting. Heads down. Move. Move. Prisoners rush to line up, hand behind their backs, eyes fixed on the ground. Some laugh nervously. Others remain silent. Officers tear through mattresses, televisions, clothing piles. Phones vibrate from inside hidden compartments. Every recovered device is a potential crime prevented, a murder avoided, a drug shipment blocked, an extortion call interrupted. But for every phone seized, 5 more likely enter the prison the next day. Control is temporary. Influence is permanent. From crime to music, Hope, Indiana, the favela. Not all stories in São Paulo's favelas end in blood. 2 young men, once lost in gangs, drug dealing, and violence, now find meaning in music. They speak about dreams of becoming football players, dreams that failed, but music gave them a second chance. They built a tiny studio using scraps and borrowed equipment. To them, it is a trophy, the first achievement that wasn't stained with crime. Their inspiration comes from reality. The streets, poverty, children in the alleys, the daily struggle. One says, "The government never cared about us. No school, no opportunity. But in the favela, even the criminals sometimes help. When my house burned down, the government gave us 3 thin mattresses. Nothing more. The local guys arrived with a truck full of donations. Food, clothes. They made my daughter smile." This is the complexity of São Paulo. Criminals who terrorize the city also feed hungry neighbors. Heroes and villains are often the same people, shaped by circumstance, not choice. A former dealer's confession, lost years. Another man recounts his past. He entered drug trafficking at 12 years old. By 13, he commanded a team of 12. He saw people die from the drugs he sold, saw families crumble, saw enemies try to kill him more times than he can remember. Police brutality, rival factions, death threats, these became part of his routine. His mother spent years in prison due to drug charges. He barely saw her. Despair surrounded him like a shadow. But something changed. Slowly, painfully, he turned away from crime. He says, "Now I see things differently. No one deserves to die, not even my enemies." His words carry the weight of someone who escaped a life that rarely grants second chances. On the front lines, the military police. Sao Paulo's military police operate in a constant state of tension. Unlike Rio de Janeiro, where criminals control large territories, Sao Paulo's crime is woven into every neighborhood. Favelas hide dangerous networks, but criminals often live dispersed across the city. When patrol enters a high-risk favela, stress spikes immediately. The officers raise their rifles. Shouts echo through tight alleys. Hands up, face the wall. A teenager, barely 10 years old, is caught buying drugs. A young man, previously imprisoned in a PCC-controlled prison, admits he is back in favela to pay debts. For the police, every alley is a trap. Every shadow holds risk. A city where children buy drugs. During a patrol, officers confront a boy no older than 10. He hides behind a wall. He denies buying crack, but his trembling hands say otherwise. The officer lifts his shirt to check for weapons. The boy's eyes are wide, frightened. He nods silently when the police tell him to go home. For the officers, it is heartbreaking, but also routine. A drug point that makes millions. In a raid, police find hundreds of cocaine vials, bags of crack. Radios used to alert dealers when officers arrive. Fresh food, still hot. Proof that dealers can't leave their post. One officer estimates, this spot makes more than 50,000 reais a day, over $1 million a month. These are not small operations. These are empires. The rich lie behind walls. Not far away, life is entirely different. A single road divides a giant slum from one of São Paulo's wealthiest districts. On one side, mud, rats, open sewage. On the other side, gleaming towers worth millions. The wealthy avoid walking. Cars are armored, windows tinted, routes planned in advance. Everyday routines, buying bread, going to work, returning home, become calculated journeys. Security guards, private police, CCTV, high walls. Fear dictates the architecture of the rich. A man reflects on a failed robbery. A viral video shows a man attempting to steal a motorcycle at gunpoint, but the rider is an undercover officer. Shots ring out. The thief collapses, screaming. The officer stands over him, shouting, "You want to steal? Now pay the price." The rider later explains, "He pressed the gun to my helmet. That was the moment I thought I might die." Sao Paulo's violence spares no one, neither the thief nor the innocent. Crackland, a society within society. In the center of Sao Paulo lies a devastating scene known as Cracolândia, Crackland. Hundreds of addicts roam the streets like ghosts, trapped between hallucinations and hunger. Church volunteers try to rescue some of them. "Come with us. Take a bath. Eat something warm." One addict says, "I've spent 22 years on drugs, 16 on crack. I lost everything, documents, family, dignity." Another adds, "My daughter is blind because of my addiction." Cracolândia is not just a location. It is a symptom of government failure, poverty, trauma, and neglect. The fight for redemption. A former addict turned volunteer speaks passionately. We bring them in. Some come violently, but we must treat them firmly. The drug speaks louder than reason. Their recovery program pulls people from the streets, giving them a chance at rebirth. Some succeed. Others disappear, swallowed again by the darkness of addiction. The escape through martial arts. In another part of the city, a mixed martial arts academy is changing lives. Many of its athletes once belonged to gangs. Now they channel rage and pain into discipline, training, and ambition. One fighter, Antonio, enters the cage with determination. He takes hits, stumbles, but rises again. He wins by breaking his opponent's leg in a swift, trained move. His wife watches anxiously from afar. She has never seen one of his fights live, too afraid to witness him get injured. Antonio says, "I came from a poor neighborhood. Violence was normal, but MMA gave me a different path." This is another face of São Paulo, one where hope is carved out through sweat and discipline. Dangerous Cities, essay with Tildo Pale long-form documentary script. Part 2, expanded narrative. The city that never rests. Night falls over São Paulo like a heavy blanket of smoke and neon. But unlike other cities, darkness does not silence this metropolis. It awakens it. Traffic jams still throb across endless avenues. Helicopters slice through the sky. Police sirens echo in the distance, bouncing between buildings like trapped ghosts. In São Paulo, danger does not sleep. It simply changes form. While the wealthy retreat behind armored doors and electric fences, the favelas continue buzzing with feverish energy. Music, laughter, arguments, drug sales, gunshots, and the steady rhythm of survival. The night patrol, chaos under streetlights. As midnight approaches, a police unit receives a radio call. Crowd of nearly 300 people, street blockage, possible drug sales, exercise caution. The officers prepare themselves, checking equipment, tightening vests, wiping sweat from their brows. They know the pattern. What starts as a gathering often evolves into something violent. When they arrive, chaos explodes instantly. Glass bottles fly through the air. Stones crash against the armored windshield. Drunken shouts fill the night. The officers fire non-lethal stun grenades, deafening blasts that scatter the crowd like startled birds. Behind the smoke and confusion, they spot the real targets. Dealers hiding in the shadows, guarding coolers filled with alcohol, weapons tucked in waistbands, prostitutes called in to attract young customers, and promoters who earn money by fueling these illegal street parties. This is not a festival. It is a business model. And everyone is playing their part, seizing illegal vehicles, power and resistance. Among the crowd, a silver car sits with massive speakers on its roof, blasting bass so deep it vibrates the sidewalk. The police measure the sound level. It exceeds the legal limit by a wide margin, 103 decibels, enough to damage hearing. They decide to impound the vehicle. Suddenly, the owner rushes in, shouting angrily, "My car was parked. I'm at my girlfriend's house. I did nothing wrong." His voice cracks with desperation. Not because of innocence, but because this is the second time the police have seized his car for the same offense. He's one of the underground party promoters, and losing his vehicle means losing income. He points to other cars, demanding fairness. But regulations are clear. If a vehicle supports illegal street events, it goes to the impound lot. And yet, underneath his outrage, there's something deeper. A man caught between the need to survive and a system that leaves him almost no options. The scale of violence, a country numbed by bloodshed. Brazil is a nation blessed with beauty, but scarred by inequality so deep it feels geological. Violence here is not shocking anymore. It is expected. People adapt. People endure. People pray they are not the next casualty. Every evening news broadcasts carry stories of armed robberies, police shootings, murders over trivial disputes, stray bullets hitting innocent children, drug wars in narrow streets, corruption scandals, kidnappings, disappearances. São Paulo, the powerhouse of the country, feels these wounds every day. The other side of the city, faith in the ruins. As police fight crime in one part of the city, another battle is being fought in the shadows of Cracolândia. Volunteers walk through smoke-filled alleys, stepping over bodies curled on the ground. Men and women trapped in addiction, so severe they have forgotten their own names. Inside makeshift tents, addicts burn crack rocks, inhaling poison to escape an even deeper pain. A pastor calls them gently. Come with us. Eat with us. There is still hope. He kneels beside a man whose eyes seem empty. What's your name? The man takes a long moment to respond, as though remembering a distant life. Michel. The pastor smiles. Michel, let's get you cleaned up. There is a better life waiting for you. For some, this is the first moment of kindness they've felt in years. Redemption in a broken place. Inside the rehabilitation center, the atmosphere is different. There are no drugs here. No chaos. No smoke-filled air. Just beds, food, prayer, and a fragile beginning of hope. The pastor's voice echoes through the small hall. Repeat after me, I do not want darkness anymore. I do not want evil anymore. I do not want drugs anymore. I want Jesus in my life. The addicts shout the words with trembling voices. Some cry silently. Some collapse to their knees. They know the road ahead is long. They know relapse is right around the corner. But for the first time, they allow themselves to imagine something different, a life beyond misery. One man confesses, I spent 22 years on drugs, 16 years smoking crack. I lost everything, my documents, my family. My daughter is blind because of me. His shoulders shake as he repeats. And even after all that, I still couldn't stop. This is the reality of addiction in São Paulo. Not a criminal act, but a deep illness born from desperation, trauma, abandonment, and pain. The invisible people, the ones society forgot. Many addicts in Cracolândia have no birth records, no jobs, no addresses. Some families have given up searching for them. Others don't even know if their loved ones are alive. A social worker explains. They disappear into the streets. They stop being part of society. Most of them are poor. Most were never given a chance. The city flows around them like a river avoiding stones. Everyone sees them, yet avoids eye contact. They are the living ghosts of São Paulo. A different kind of fighter. MMA in the favela. In another corner of the city, noise of a very different kind fills a gym. Punches hitting pads. Instructors shouting commands. Shoes scraping the mat. For many young men who grew up surrounded by gangs, martial arts becomes a sanctuary. A place to release anger, trauma, and frustration. The gym's coach explains, we've had many students who came from crime. But here, they learn discipline. Here, they learn respect. The sport transforms them. One fighter, Antonio, trains harder than anyone. He grew up in poverty. His father vanished when he was young. Survival was his only teacher. But MMA gave him purpose. His wife stands at the edge of the mat, watching him with worry. I support him, always, but I'm scared. This sport, it's dangerous. She has never watched one of his fights live. The thought of seeing him hurt terrifies her. But Antonio fights not just for victory. He fights for escape, for pride, for a future he never thought possible. Into the cage, the warrior from the slum. The lights dim. The announcer's voice booms. From São Paulo, Antonio Muita lose. The crowd roars. Inside the cage, the atmosphere is electric. Adrenaline hangs thick in the air. The bell rings. At first, Antonio struggles. His opponent lands heavy blows, pushing him against the cage. But he regains his composure, drawing strength from years of pain, hunger, and determination. Then it happens. A perfectly timed move. A twist, a shift of weight. And Antonio traps his opponent's leg. A snap, a scream. The referee rushes in. Victory. Finalization. The crowd explodes with applause as Antonio raises his fists. After the match, he speaks breathlessly. My opponent hit hard, but we trained for this. We trained to get back up. For him, the fight was more than sport. It was proof that his life is no longer ruled by crime or fear. Nightfall again, police on the move. While Antonio celebrates his win, The police continue their night patrols. Another radio call. Large gathering forming possible drug activity. Proceed carefully. Officers tighten their grip on their rifles. The car moves slowly down narrow streets, headlights cutting through darkness. The moment they arrive, bottles fly again. Teenagers scatter. Cars speed off. Dealers shout warnings into their radios. The cops are here. Run. The officers respond with discipline. Stun grenades, coordinated movements, tactical formation. They try to push through the chaos. But São Paulo doesn't yield easily. Not to criminals, not to police, not to anyone. The city breaks, but never folds. As dawn approaches, the city begins to shift once more. Bars close. Dealers return home. Addicts find somewhere to sleep. Police finish their shift. Office workers prepare for another day. Life continues. Uneven, unfair, unpredictable, yet always moving. The sun rises over skyscrapers and slums alike, casting long shadows over a city where danger and dreams coexist, where every resident carries a story shaped by survival. Dawn over a troubled giant. As the first rays of sunlight stretch across São Paulo, the city rises with a mixture of exhaustion and determination. Fog clings to the tops of skyscrapers. Street vendors begin setting up their carts. Children walk to school, some stepping over puddles of sewage while holding worn-out backpacks. In the wealthier districts, morning routines are quieter. Private drivers wait outside glass towers. Doors open automatically. Security guards salute residents by name. Two worlds separated by a single street, yet living in opposite universes. The hidden architecture of fear. Security is a way of life in São Paulo. In upper-class neighborhoods like Jardins, Vila Olympia, and Morumbi, almost every building has bulletproof glass, private guards, gated vestibules, 24-hour monitoring, panic buttons, armored parking entrances. Residents move like inhabitants of a fortress. A businessman preparing for the day speaks from behind tinted windows. From my house to my office, every route is planned. I call ahead so the gate opens fast. Stopping is dangerous. Traffic is dangerous. Red lights are dangerous. You learn to live with fear. He gestures to the line of vehicles around him. Look, every second or third car is armored. Sometimes more. São Paulo streets are filled with thousands of armored vehicles, more than almost any other city in the world. It's not luxury. It's survival. The Laddeirão, a road of life and death. The businessman's car approaches a notorious steep road known as Oladeiro. A few weeks earlier, a federal police officer was ambushed and killed here. The driver slows down instinctively. This road, it's dangerous. Criminals hide in the alleys. They attack people stuck in traffic and then escape into favela. The contrast is impossible to ignore. On one side of the hill, modern apartments with mirrored balconies. On the other side, wooden shacks stacked on mud. The border between safety and danger is sometimes just a sidewalk wide. Life in the slums, the everyday struggle. Inside the favela, morning looks very different. Narrow alleys filled with voices. Mothers calling their children. Men hauling crates. Radios blasting funk music. Dogs barking. Babies crying. Yet beneath the noise lies a deep truth. People here wake up with uncertainty. A young woman speaks in front of her home, a fragile structure made of mismatched bricks and rusted tin. When it rains, the sewage rises. The water enters our houses. The rats climb the pipes. Our floor floods every year. No one helps. She points behind her house where a stream of raw sewage trickles openly. This is where everything goes. This is where we live. Her voice does not tremble. She is used to this. But her eyes reveal a silent exhaustion, the fatigue of someone who has been forced to endure far more than most people ever will. The invisible border, rich versus poor. A single street divides this favela from São Paulo's most expensive district. On one side, luxury cars, imported dogs, private schools, balconies with pools, breakfast deliveries, personal trainers. On the other side, barefoot children, leaky roofs, open drains, Constant police raids. Almost no opportunity for escape. It is a physical line, but also a psychological one. The boundary between two versions of Brazil. The people in the slum can see the rich towers from their windows, but they can never reach them. This contrast shapes everything: crime, resentment, fear, survival, dreams, violence, politics. Two cities living inside one body. The police return, risk in every step. As the morning progresses, a military police unit returns to the same favela they raided the night before. They move cautiously, scanning rooftops and alleys. An officer explains, during the day, the criminals disappear. They sleep, they rest, but they are still watching. Every entrance, every path, every blind corner holds potential danger. The officer points upward. Look, see that kid? He's a lookout. He warns everyone when we approach. The boy is no older than 12. He stares down, expressionless, tapping a radio. For him, this is a job, a way to bring home money, a survival mechanism in a world that rarely gives children a choice. A boy who saw too much. The police stop a young boy buying drugs. His voice is soft, almost innocent. I don't use crack, sir. I swear, only powder. He lifts his shirt to show he has no weapon. He says he lives right there, pointing vaguely toward the maze of houses. The officer sighs. This is the worst part. Kids buying drugs like they're buying candy. He kneels to look the boy in the eye. Go home. Don't come back here. The boy nods but says nothing. His eyes tell the truth. He will come back. This is the only life he knows. The weight of the badge. A veteran officer speaks quietly, almost whispering. Every day, this job eats at you. Every alley could be your last. Every child could be carrying a gun. Every person could attack you, but you go anyway. He wipes his forehead, tired beyond measure. We try to help, but they hate us. They run from us. They see us as enemies. And sometimes we are. In São Paulo, the line between protector and oppressor is thin. Too thin. The normality of corruption. Later, deep in another favela, documentary filmmakers meet PCC members willing to talk openly. Their faces covered, weapons visible, voices confident. One of them says bluntly, yes, we kill cops. Every time we kill one, we tattoo a clown to mark it. He shows the ink covering his skin. Clowns, guns, symbols of death. He laughs. The military police? Corrupt. You give them 500 reais, maybe 1,000, and they let you go. Civil police? More expensive. 15,000 to 20,000. Another gangster adds, we don't kill civilians. Only people who deserve it. Rapists, traitors, people who break the law of the favela. Here we judge. Here we decide. These are not scared boys hiding from the law. They speak with the confidence of rulers. In these neighborhoods, they are a world with its own laws. Inside PCC territory, a parallel justice system rules. No stealing from neighbors. No harming children. No touching another man's wife. No rape punishment. Death. No betrayal. Punishment. Death. All members must pay monthly contributions. A gangster explains. Every neighborhood has a representative. Every representative answers to a higher leader. Everything is organized. Everything has rules. This is discipline. This structure is what makes the PCC so powerful. They are not chaotic. They are organized. And they are everywhere. A street economy built on survival. As the day continues, small shops open across the favelas. Hair salons, food stands, bootleg movie sellers, improvised repair shops, motorcycle taxi services. These businesses operate under the watch of the PCC. They collect fees. They ensure peace. They punish anyone who disrupts their income streams. One vendor explains, if you steal from me, the PCC will find you, not the police. He says it plainly, without fear. Here, the police are outsiders, but the criminals are part of daily life. Another raid, another world of contrast. As afternoon heat settles over the city, a new operation begins. Police gather in armored vehicles. Their radios crackle. They prepare for another dangerous raid, one aimed at a drug den known to move millions of rays every month. They break in fast, shouting commands. Everyone down! Hands on your heads! Inside they find stacks of small cocaine vials, radio for lookouts, bags of crack, money wrapped in elastic bands, notebooks documenting every sale. The food on the table is still hot. Dealers forced to eat where they work. One officer shakes his head. This place makes more than 50,000 rays a day. Maybe more. This is a million-a-month spot. For every raid, another 5 drug points emerge. The police know this. They fight anyway. The city past midnight, a different reality emerges. When São Paulo crosses midnight, the air changes. Streetlights glow dimmer. Shadows stretch longer. The city's heartbeat slows, but its dangers sharpen. The roads that were clogged earlier begin to empty, but the emptiness itself becomes threatening. Carjackers prefer quiet streets, not crowded ones. A lonely pedestrian hurries down a sidewalk, constantly looking over his shoulder. A taxi speeds past, doors locked, windows barely opened. Motorcycle riders glide through the darkness, stopping only at well-lit spots. The city becomes a maze of risk calculations. The reality of night shift workers. Not everyone gets to sleep at night. Thousands of night shift workers clock in while the rest of the world dozes off. At a large bakery, ovens blaze at 1 a.m. Bakers knead dough with flour-covered hands. Workers move trays in synchronized motions. A baker in his 40s explains. People wake up to fresh bread. They don't know we start at midnight. He wipes sweat from his forehead. We don't rest. São Paulo doesn't let us rest. His shift ends at dawn, just in time for another exhausting day. The night economy, a world of survival. In the darker corners, another kind of night economy thrives. Street vendors selling late-night snacks. Men repairing tires at 2 a.m. Women selling handmade jewelry. Addicts collecting cans for recycling. Illegal gambling dens. Small bars packed with shift workers. Clandestine taxi drivers negotiating rides. This ecosystem keeps thousands alive. A woman selling skewers of grilled meat says, "Night is dangerous, but day is empty. My customers come after midnight." She glances nervously toward an alley. "I don't stay here because I want to. I stay because I must." Survival in São Paulo often means sacrificing safety for income. The silent battles of nighttime police patrols. Police cars cruise slowly through neighborhoods known for nighttime activity. Blue and red lights reflect off cracked walls. Inside the patrol car, 2 officers speak in low tones. One says, "Night patrol is different. You feel the city breathing, but it breathes danger." The other nods. Most crimes happen now. Robberies, drug deals, assaults, everything. They drive into a poorly lit street where shadows shift behind parked cars. The officers tense up. This area, always trouble. Their fingers hover near their holsters. Every silhouette could be harmless or deadly. Shadows on motorcycles. The most feared threat. São Paulo fears one thing above all else at night. Robbers on motorcycles. 2 men on a bike, wearing dark helmets, approach silently. They appear out of nowhere, like predators emerging from darkness. Almost everyone in the city has a story. A phone taken at gunpoint. A bag ripped away. A watch stolen. A car forced to stop. A window smashed during traffic. A woman who experienced one such robbery recalls. "It was so fast. I screamed, but no one came. They were gone before I could blink." The police know this pattern well. One officer says, 2 men on a motorbike? At night, we treat them with caution, very high caution. The drug trade after midnight, when business peaks. In certain neighborhoods, midnight is when the drug trade becomes most active. Small groups gather in dimly lit corners. Cars pull up slowly, engines running. Motorcycle riders deliver packets through open windows. A former dealer, now out of the trade, explains. Night is perfect. People buy more. Police are stretched thin, and addicts are desperate. He looks down, regret in his voice. I ruin lives. I ruin my own life. But in the favelas, regret doesn't erase reality. Business continues regardless of individual conscience. The silent partnership, gangs, and nighttime stability. Strangely, in some favelas, nights are peaceful, but not because of the police, because of the PCC. A resident explains, when the PCC says there's no noise, there's no noise. When they say no robberies, there are no robberies. They control everything. This underground order creates a twisted form of stability. No loud music, no fights, no robberies inside the community, no outsiders entering without permission. But the price is obedience, total obedience. A glimpse inside a clandestine nightclub. Deep in the outskirts lies a nightclub that opens at 3 a.m., a secret spot where the city's nightlife turns raw. Inside, heavy bass shakes the walls. Lights flicker over sweating bodies. Liquor flows rapidly. Cash changes hands constantly. Illegal substances pass discreetly between fingers. A bouncer outside whispers, "We stay open until sunrise, sometimes until 9 a.m. This underground nightlife is intertwined with gang influence. They provide protection. They oversee transactions. They ensure no fights escalate. Here, danger and celebration coexist so tightly they become indistinguishable. The scavengers of dawn, people who collect what the city leaves behind. As dawn approaches, a new group emerges. Collectors, trash pickers, recyclers. They roam the streets pushing carts, searching for aluminum cans, cardboard, plastic bottles, metal scraps, anything they can sell. Some walk miles before sunrise, combing through garbage bags before the official garbage trucks arrive. One elderly man, barefoot and wearing a torn jacket, admits, "I've worked like this for 20 years. I feed my family with what the city throws away." He smiles weakly. The city has everything, and nothing. The bleeding heart of the city, where violence has many forms. São Paulo's violence isn't always gunfire or robbery. Sometimes it's psychological, sometimes economic, sometimes emotional. A sociologist explains, living constantly afraid is also a form of violence. So is waking up not knowing if you can afford food, or if you'll lose your job, or if your home will be destroyed by rain. Fear expands like fog throughout the city. It seeps into homes, into dreams, into relationships, into childhoods. This is the silent violence of poverty and instability. The rivers of the city, beautiful but deadly. São Paulo's rivers, the Tite and Pinheiros, cut through the city like scars. During the day, they shimmer beneath sunlight. At night, they reflect neon lights. But up close, they tell another story. Polluted water, floating debris, chemical smells, dead fish, toxic foam. A fisherman near a polluted bank says, "When I was a kid, we used to swim here. Now, if you touch this water, you get sick." The rivers mirror the story of the city itself, full of potential, but suffocated by neglect. The rush of dawn, a new day, old problems. As the first light of morning creeps across the horizon, São Paulo begins its daily transformation again. Motorcycles roar back to life. Cars flood the streets. Subways fill instantly. Factories buzz with activity. Markets open with loud shouts. Workers rush, eyes half open, minds full of worry. A street vendor frying pastries at 5 a.m. says, "Every day it starts again. The city never stops. It doesn't let us stop either." Her face is tired, but her hands move quickly. She has customers waiting, children to feed, bills to pay. The city's paradox in one sentence. A bus driver, preparing for another 12-hour shift, sums it up: "I hate the city, but I love it too much to leave." And that is São Paulo. Terrifying and exhilarating, cruel and generous, dangerous and beautiful. A city that breaks you and rebuilds you every single day. The morning after, the city cycle continues. As sunlight spreads across São Paulo again, the chaos of the night melts into the business of the day. The city's 22 million inhabitants begin moving like waves. buses overflowing, trains packed beyond capacity, honking taxis, rushing pedestrians, street vendors calling out, delivery riders weaving between cars. A city that slept uneasily now rises with determination. An office worker stepping off a bus says, "Every day is a battle here, but we wake up and face it again." This is the power of Sao Paulo. Its people refuse to surrender. Behind the skyline, 1,000 untold stories. From a distance, the skyline looks like progress. Giant towers, modern architecture, glittering glass. But behind those towers lie thousands of untold stories. The single mother working 2 jobs. The teenager tempted by gang life. The immigrant struggling to survive. The police officer battling fear and exhaustion. The addict searching for a moment of peace. The businessman living inside an armored bubble. The favela child dreaming of something different. Each story is a thread woven into the giant fabric of Sao Paulo. A sociologist puts it beautifully. Sao Paulo is not one city. It is millions of cities layered together. Some beautiful, some broken, all alive. The eternal struggle, hope against fear. Every day, the city fights a silent war. Hope versus fear, opportunity versus desperation, growth versus inequality, law versus the streets. And in that clash, people carve out their lives. They raise children, build dreams, lose battles, win victories, suffer tragedies, and celebrate joys. A teacher watching her students play during recess says, "These kids don't know how dangerous the world outside is, but they still laugh. They still dream." That's hope. The endless contradiction. A city of light and shadow. Sao Paulo is a city of contrast so powerful they seem impossible. Skyscrapers next to crumbling shacks. Gourmet restaurants a few meters from hunger. Armored cars passing by barefoot children. High-tech banks sitting above broken pavements. Millionaires living meters away from addicts. Fear living alongside ambition. And yet, somehow, the city holds itself together. It survives through the strength of its people. People who endure. People who hustle. People who push forward even when the world pushes back. The final night, a last look at the city that never rests. As we return to one final nighttime view, the city glows like a constellation on Earth. Endless roads stretching to horizon, headlights moving in every direction, skyscrapers shimmering under the dark sky, motorcycles buzzing like insects of steel, sirens far in the distance, music rising from street corners, laughter echoing from bars. And somewhere, deep in the favela, a mother tells her children to sleep on the floor again, just in case. Sao Paulo is a city that fights itself. A city that elevates and crushes. A city that bleeds but keeps moving. A city loved and hated in equal measure. A city that refuses to quit. The closing message, the city's truth. A final voiceover speaks as dawn breaks once more. This is Sao Paulo. A city of danger, beauty, struggle, chaos, and limitless spirit. A city where every sunrise is a victory, and every night is a challenge. A city that survives because its people refuse to give up,